Good evening and welcome to your Thursday edition of this Is Ibrox podcast on Old Firm Eve. I think we'll call it, still a few days away, but podcast-wise, it's Old Firm Eve for us. My name's Iain Mitchell and I'm joined by JB. JB, first of all, great to see you, as always. How are you, mate? How are things?
Yeah, very well. I was on Tuesday, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself or certainly contradict myself more like. But no, you've had a busy week yourself, haven't you?
Yes, down in London on Tuesday, filming Call Yourself a Fan as part of Rangers fans. So that comes out tomorrow. So that's a fun watch. John Walker and Craig, that used to be on the podcast here, were with me. So again, tune into that. It's a bit of fun. And yesterday, which we'll talk about a little bit, a fan media getting over to the Rangers Museum to meet Barry Ferguson. Like anyone our age, I think you see Barry Ferguson and you're still in awe. Just kind of, oh my God, there's Barry Ferguson. So that was a great day. It's a great experience. And the museum, I'm not just saying it because they invited us along. It's a really good day out at this point. It's really immersive. There's a lot of, the history's there. The trophies are going to be there, but there's so many little anomalies and just cool little things. It's good for, I think, the older generation to relive those moments. Guys like me to sort of look back at some moments and to look at maybe things you didn't know that happened down the line. And it's even for kids, I think there's enough in there to kill an hour or two. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. We'll talk about that a little bit in more detail and obviously come on to that Celtic game, which is quite a big one this time. But GB, we'll jump straight to that. Celtic played today, and I think the agenda that I've got in front of me has changed a little bit because it was all they're playing today, that's advantage for us, but they won, albeit didn't go through, thankfully, but they won. How do you think that compares to how our weeks here preparation-wise? Is it better to have a game, get a confidence-boosting win that they'll have got, no doubt, or be us and have the week off, a full week to prepare, no injury issues, touch wood, you never know with Rangers, but whose camp would you rather be on?
It's a real tricky one because I've always been of a view, well, you're always of a view, aren't you, that no game is better. But I've never looked back at the stats, but I actually don't think not having a midweek game in recent years hasn't benefited us. I've never felt the benefit going into a big game at the weekend. I can't recall playing a midweek game where we said the team looked tired. And sometimes playing against that higher level of opposition in the week, then coming into the weekend can potentially work in your favour because you're kind of at that level. However, we haven't been particularly successful over the last few years, so it's not, and we've done well in Europe. So again, there's arguments for both. One thing I would say about the manager, he hasn't had a lot of opportunity on the training ground. You think since he's come in, I think there's been an international break thrown in. Obviously, we've had weeks in between games as well. We had a full week ready for Livingston, and we kind of weren't ready. Well, I say we weren't ready for that, but we certainly didn't start the game well. Didn't feel as if the first half was certainly wasn't enjoyable being there. But I think in terms of that, you just don't know. If you're playing in the midweek, you want to come through it with no injuries. You want to try and go into a game, the weekend game with confidence. Naturally, I had a quick glance at their start 11 to see if they made many changes, and
we all did. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think you see that, and not that I'm a massive Stuttgart fan or know a lot about Stuttgart, but it looks like they made mass changes as well. So sometimes it can be a bit. I watched a wee bit whilst I was cooking the tea and eating the tea, and it wasn't a great watch, like in terms of free flow and sexy soccer. But again, how many times have we been away in Europe and just gone and dug stuff out? But yeah, as I say, we'll ask me after the 90 minutes on Sunday what was the best, whether to have the week off or whether to have it. But Danny Roll is a coach. He's not a manager, so to speak. He's got into the position that he has because of the work that he does on the grass. So let's just hope that he's come up with a little bit of a battle plan that I'm sure we'll get into in terms of how he mobilises us on Sunday.
Yep. What do you think that is confidence-wise for us now? Because I think the last few years, and we'll go into the record against Celtic in a wee while because it's kind of better than you imagine, weirdly. But you go into most Old Firms not knowing and maybe being a bit negative, thinking, especially I think back to the Parkhead game last month, I didn't give as much of a chance for whatever reason, just didn't think we're going to win on the day, but I'm very pessimistic naturally, so just never really think we will do well. But even yesterday, being at the museum, speaking to some of the fan media guys, everyone seems pretty confident, both from a Rangers side of view. I think we all think we should win. We must win, I guess, is another problem as well. Any Celtic fan that I sadly have to be friends with, they're not confident at all. They think we'll batter them. That might change after that game tonight, but it feels a bit weird, this scenario for me, being confident and thinking we're going to do well. Do you think, is this the most confident you've got in an Old Firm game for a while?
Yeah, well, I've got no friends that are Celtic fans, I'm pleased to report, so I'm all right. It's probably because of location more than anything else. But yeah, I think the last time I was probably confident going into an Old Firm was probably COVID. It was probably lockdown. Given the fact that we did play them in close proximity, didn't we, in terms of league and cup? If I remember, Stephen Davis's overhead kick was that in and around the time McGregor scored an own goal, Joe Rebo from post corner. So I feel as if that kind of all merged into one. But them games, you kind of knew going into them that, right, let's go and put a marker down here. Obviously, Golson went away and scored a couple there. Shane Duffy, thanks for your service. But it was yeah, that's probably been the last time I've gone into a game and gone, right, come on, let's go and do these. And that's kind of how I'm feeling going into the weekend. Naturally, you can be left with egg on your face, but for the first time probably since that season, if you were going to be picking, I know this gets done all the time, but if you were going to be picking an Old Firm 11, I genuinely think we've got the edge now. Whereas previously it was probably more of an argument to try and squeeze somebody in, probably more by passion rather than absolute playing ability. Even if you go through the keepers, you go through the fullbacks, you go through centre halves. There's an argument to say Callum McGregor, not necessarily because of his ability, but the importance of that team. I think Maeda's always a threat, but out with that, there's not a lot there. So I think if the two teams play to their maximum ability on Sunday, I think we win. And I can't always say over the years that's where my head's been. I've always been more a bit right, we're going to need to be clinical. We're going to need to take our chances. We're going to need no errors. No silly, don't give the referee an excuse type of attitude. But I think we can go into Sunday and we should be showing that we are the better team. And the run of form that we've been on, we should hopefully try and replicate that on Sunday as well, out with a couple of outliers away from home.
Yep, that player for player comparison is quite interesting because I think you're spot on. You would look at our defence and probably think, yeah, we're better. I think statistically we are better anyway. We've conceded less. Attack, we're very hit and miss, so it's hard to say. But midfield, again, I like our midfielders, so I do back what you're saying. But it's a lot of unknown in this one for both teams because obviously we've brought in 4 guys in January. This will be their first Old Firms. You don't know how they're going to handle it. They're all experienced enough. They've all played in big games, I'm sure, over their career, but this is maybe the biggest game of their career for a lot of them. 2 back-to-back's a big thing.
I do wonder whether the Hearts game and the atmosphere that was at Ibrox that day will work in the favour of our players, because that was probably the nearest you're going to get to an Old Firm type. I mean, if you think about the atmosphere for that game against the Old Firm at the start of the season at Ibrox, sorry, the Hearts game on Sunday last Sunday compared to the first Old Firm, the 0-0 under Russell Martin.
Yes.
The players whose first Old Firm that was probably came out of that game going, right, yeah, Old Firm, yeah, great, the atmosphere's all right. However, they've then gone to Parkhead, they've experienced that, they've experienced the win and what that can do. And then we've
even that though, just to jump in, that wasn't for me like a normal Old Firm because that was the first one I managed to get to as a Rangers fan in the away end. But Parkhead was silent that whole game, much like Ibrox was under the Russell Martin one. So this might be the first one that's properly loud, you'd expect, like the Hearts game was. And yeah, that's a very good point. The fact our players are maybe they've seen how good a win can be in that environment. So hopefully, that spurs you on, right?
You'd like to think so. I mean, one thing about that game, the Hearts game, the fans were brilliant up until we conceded, and then there was a little bit of a lull, and then somebody won a big tackle like not long after they scored, and things kind of just went up a level, and then we scored quite quick. So again, the fans bought into that, and then when we conceded, the big bit for me was then going in against. I feel like we're reviewing Hearts again, but we've got to cling on to something. But then we scored again just before half time, and then we went in half time. The players got a good ovation. We come back out, they got a good ovation again, and then we went on to put the game to bed. So, yeah, similar again, Mr. Rangers on Sunday, and I think we'll all be happy enough, won't we?
No, half. A question in there, and keep the comments coming. There's already plenty coming in, which is great as always. Harvey's asking when Barron's back. Not for the weekend. I think it's late March, last we heard, so soon, but not anywhere near these games. I'm going to ask this obvious question that everyone is saying to themselves just now. Is this must win for Rangers? If we draw this game, for example, I don't think we're going to be throwing in the towel as such, but it's getting a bit insurmountable. Try to get us back to Hearts if we don't pick up 3 points here. For me, do you think we have to, as much as we have to do it for winning the league, do you think we have to do it for just that belief as well? Just get the 3 points?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you won't know until the end of the season, truth be known. Do you know what I mean? As well as Hearts have done, they could draw their next 2 games. They could draw their next 3 games. That isn't beyond the realms of possibility.
Yeah.
However, with our away form the way that it has been, as I said to Hef on Tuesday, if we were to win our next game away from home, is it St Mirren in a couple of weeks' time? That's the outlier. Do you know what I mean? So it's not as if we're going to go to St Mirren, we're going to go and steamroll them. We are seeing teams go and steamroll St Mirren, unfortunately, but it's not something that we've got in the locker at the moment. So until we can kind of get over that mindset, Sunday's a fantastic opportunity to show the players, for the players to show us, sorry, that that they've got it, and they're not necessarily the ability. Said this a few times. I think certainly since Danny Roll's come in, there's ability there. For me, the bit that we've always challenged this team on, even though it's a different group of players, is the have they got the mentality to then go that extra step when we need them to? So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting weekend. I think every weekend from now to the end of the season is going to be it's going to be quite gripping. I think I'm sure I will all be tuning into Hearts on Saturday afternoon. And that's probably something that we wouldn't normally do. I can't remember the last time I tuned into a non-old firm team at the weekend. So yeah, all eyes will be on the Tynecastle on Saturday against Aberdeen. So and then obviously the box office one on Sunday. So you can just imagine the noise if Aberdeen can go there, and I dare say it do us favours. Not that that would happen very often. But
I don't see it, to be honest.
I
I'd love
know,
to see
but
it, but
you don't know if they were to go there and spoil the party a wee bit. Then all of a sudden everything looks a wee bit different again, doesn't it? So yeah, let's just hope that we're sitting here smiling come Sunday night.
yeah, I think it was interesting watching the STV football show this week where Ewan Cameron, who's obviously on here, massive Hearts fan, to know nobody's surprised, he still seems to think Rangers are favourites. He still fears Rangers a little bit. I think that maybe mindset from other teams, obviously knowing Rangers on their day can beat anyone, as we proved against Hearts. We just have to win to keep that a bit of fear factor going that we've somehow got back. Not quite fully back, obviously, but yeah, it's a big one, obviously. Going to ask you an interesting one here. Do you fear Celtic? And the reason I ask that, last 7 games in 90 minutes, because they did beat us in the League Cup semi-final and won on penalties before that as well. But in the last 7 games that we've played Celtic, we've not lost in 90 minutes in any of those 7. The squad obviously have something about them. When they play Celtic, you think of guys like Raskin, Diomande, they turn up in these games. Do you think the players fear Celtic in any way? Because that, before this 7 games, that was kind of the impression I got. We would just kind of know Celtic had our number for a couple of years, you have to say. Whereas now, it's kind of flipped on a switch. And again, playing them back-to-back, got a massive chance to basically ruin their season, which would be quite nice, wouldn't it?
It'd be delightful. I think intensity is probably the thing that this Rangers team have struggled with in recent years. And you touched on in terms of fearing them. I don't think I've really feared them since probably Postecoglou was there, just because of that style of football that they played, the quick throw-ins, the quick free kicks. Our team, because of the mentality of our team, it was almost a case of we had players that would switch off all the time, unless they were in Europe, and then it almost the case of this game requires 100% focus. I can remember a few times under, I don't know if you remember, we went to Parkhead. Did we have Tillman and Diallo playing? They started the midweek game. We were 3-0 down after 20 minutes or something. And you look at the talent that them two had, particularly. But that was a team that they were up for it that night, and they just blew us away. I don't see that same urgency within their team anymore. So back to your question around fear factor, I don't fear this Celtic team any more than I would probably fear Hearts or Motherwell. Certainly Motherwell. I'd probably say I probably consider them to be in kind of the same bracket at the moment, albeit there's a little bit more hatred in the blood when it comes to seeing it. So sorry, we're past the watershed, aren't we? But it's
No, I think it's natural. Don't worry, you're not. You're in safe
yeah,
company. I think they're all
yeah,
thinking the same.
yeah.
One thing I want to look at is a couple of positions, because I know you mentioned against with Hef on Tuesday that you're thinking. I don't know if it's what you said you want, but you're thinking we'll do this 4-2-2-2 type system. I would go the other way. I'd want three in midfield, just knowing the three who be playing against who might have to come out. Because again, I want a Diamande against Celtic. I want Raskin against Celtic, and I think Chuck Warry's been our best midfielder the last month. So I want all three to be playing. I get that might make us a little less potent in attack, but that's how I'd be shaping up. But there's a couple of individual ones I want to go for here. Now, Dujon Sterling missed out against Livingston. He was injured. At the time, I thought, is he injured or is he injured to save him from that pitch, keep him for these games? I'm really hoping that's the case. If Sterling is fit, if he's 90% fit, do you put him in, or do you think Tav, or what would you want to see there? Go for that one first of all.
Sterling 100%. I don't even blink with it. Like in terms of his, just what he brings to us as a team in terms of no one's outpacing him. Now again, you can point to the Motherwell game where he come on cold and didn't win the ball at the back post. Get it?
Yeah.
I think the best way to beat Celtic is going to be intensity. Back to the point earlier in terms of when they had so much success against us. I think when a lot of the games we've matched their intensity over them 7 games that you've just spoke around. And unfortunately for me, I think James Tavernier does slow the game down massively. If things aren't going well and we need a goal or we need a penalty, then naturally James Tavernier, he'd be in there, he'd be involved, he'd be whipping crosses in. Again, another good assist on Sunday after a number of failed attempts. But for me, I think Celtic's biggest threat for me would probably be still Maeda, albeit he's gone right off the boil. It doesn't seem as if he wants to be there. And his pace is a challenge. So I think if you can go with Fernandez, who's quick, Romans is quick, and Sterling, who's quick, I think that just gives you that little bit more muscle. Obviously, Tavernier, again, as I said on a few pods, his age has naturally caught up with him. I still think he's going to have a really important part to play from now to the end of the season. He'll deliver on big moments. If there's any player in probably world football out with Harry Kane, if there was a penalty to be had, I'm back and Tav. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's for that position in particular, I definitely think Sterling would be the one. And also, I think you get more out of your right winger, whoever that is on the day, if it's Sterling, because he's not going to be looking to bomb up and down. He will defend first and attack second. Whereas if you go with the Tavernier, naturally hit the way he plays his game, he wants to get up and down, albeit slowly, but he wants to get into them offensive positions because that's definitely where his skill set is, which could then, I think, hinder your Skov Olsen or you.
I think it does hinder him. I think that's why he's struggling a little bit, because he's a very left-footed right winger. He's going to cut in. Tav doesn't overlap anymore. He underlaps, not to get us all tactical suddenly, but Tav finds himself in that kind of number 10 position a lot. And you kind of feel like Skov Olsen's like, oh, hang on, that guy's there, so I'll need to go this way on my weaker side. It's how he got the cross against Hearts, which was a great cross on his right foot. But I think more of his good work is going to come on his left side. And that's just where Tav's kind of in the way sometimes. So, again, sometimes he scores from it. He gets good crosses like he did against Livy, obviously. But I put up the 2 team lines today on our Twitter, just with the kind of 4-2-2-2 and the 4-3-3, just to kind of get a feel for what people wanted, what they thought. And John Suter was in both those lineups. And we got a few comments saying, why Suter on the team? He's too slow. He's got a mistake in him, which I think he does. But he also has very good games in him. Would you start him, or would you be on this campaign that some people are on, that Nasser Jigger should be starting, which I don't see happening? But would you trust him more than Suter right now?
I'd play Sterling centre half before I play.
Well, he plays Sterling everywhere.
Yeah. No, I genuinely would. I would play Sterling centre half. I think I think that's his best position. As we move into next season, I'd have no concerns with Sterling and Fernandez being our centre half partnership. I think
Fitness wise, we would.
yeah,
Fitness
yeah.
wise, second fit. Ability wise,
If he stayed fit and he was there, I think in terms of the physicality, he can carry the ball out the back. All right, he's not a fantastic passer of the ball, but he protects the ball really well.
good enough.
He's an aerial threat in both boxes, albeit I don't think we've seen enough of it offensively. And yeah, for me, I think he's quality. Sterling, let's have it right. If he was available for 60 games a season, he wouldn't be with us. Do you know what I mean? If you think about the amount of times he's come in after not playing for months and still rocks out an 8 out of 10, he's got it. Do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, it doesn't appear at this stage that his body's built to play professional football. I also still do have a bit of a sour taste in my mouth over the incident after the last Old Firm game. I think for someone who the club have invested so much into, to have that carry on. And I know I get the argument of he's a young lad, he needs to have a life and that, but you've got to find that balance. So again, parking that aside, excuse the car pun. Yeah, we'll move on. I think he needs to, if we can get him fit and playing, he comes in. But for me, I think you're asking for trouble bringing De Gea in. Because I haven't seen De Gea perform on the big stage particularly well. If I think I've still got scars of Bruges, and I think about Bruges at home, he was kind of ball watching. I don't think it's the type of game that you want to take too many risks. But yeah, I think for me, I think you're definitely going to be looking at Sterling, Suter, they said Cornelius, Fernandez, and Romans for me.
Yeah, I like this call. It kind of sums up my head as well from Blazing Blue. It's current form Suter would be a no, but he does usually play quite well in old firms. He knows what it's about. He's experienced, obviously, so he ticks more boxes than a Jigger does. And at the end here, Scott Olsen and Mikey on the wings. The comment before that from James was sort of asking about Scott Olsen. Has he shown enough? I know you talked about him a lot on Tuesday, so I won't make you repeat yourself, but I think your point was kind of right at the time. Scott Olsen, if he comes good, could get your 5 goals, your 10 goals, your moment in this kind of game. Whereas I'd much rather see a Scott Olsen playing than a Gassama starting, than a Asgard starting, than Barami, who played well the last 10 minutes against Livingston, has played well in Old Firms as well. I don't think either of those really put up a decent competition. Even if Ant-Man's back fit again, same problem. It's Scott Olsen all day, right?
Right. Well, yeah, 100%. Just jumping back to your question about injury before, the manager was asked about two. He said 2 players are injured. One's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, and one's going to potentially be a doubt for the weekend. Now, I know the press jumped straight on that, and they just assumed that it was going to be Sterling and Nadiri. Now, obviously, Nadiri got half an hour in the locker, but I do wonder whether it was Ant-Man, because Ant-Man was nowhere near the squad on Sunday. Obviously, the manager's given him a few run-outs in the last few weeks, and you would have thought he would have been an option. But for me, yeah, Scott Olsen, I just think, and I get the argument that he hasn't been great, but if I think about Seema's first handful of games, if I think about Cheney's first handful of games, they stunk the place out big time. Everything we heard about Olsen was he's a big game player. He's got that arrogance. He's got that mindset of he wants it to be all about him. Well, if that's the mindset that you've got, there's no better time to show that than on Sunday. And there will be gaps on Sunday. This is a poor Celtic team that we're coming up against. One of their biggest outlets probably is going to be potentially Tierney down the left, Maeda down the left if they go with that. So that's potentially going to be their strongest part of their team. So if you allow Olsen to cheat a wee bit, and then you've then also got if Sterling comes back in. Scott, the only question mark I'd have over Scott Olsen is if James Tavernier definitely does start on the right, I might potentially do something a wee bit different and potentially go to that back 3. Sorry, the
is
midfield.
That just protecting Tav? You mean just again the comment? I think I flashed up there from Albert's legend there. Does he help Tav? I don't think it's not his game massively.
Yeah, I don't think.
see something.
I don't think he does. But then, if you go with that, do you then go with the midfield three, and then it's somebody's job there to help Tav? So whether
Yeah,
that be Raskin, whether it be Chukwani dropping in, whether it be Diamande dropping in at times. We've never replaced Ryan Jack to protect Tav. That was always the kind of the one that we pointed towards. But he's played in enough big games. Also, I mean, was he 40, 50 odd caps? He's been round the scene. He's played in some, albeit non-old firm derbies, but this isn't going to be a game on Sunday for me. I've got to be high quality. It's going to be the team that can exploit the weaknesses of the opposition the best. It's going to be, you'd like to think there'll be a little bit of a battle in there. One thing this team is built up for is physical. So again, yeah, let's see how we go. But for me, Olsen could be the match winner. Now that the game won't be won in the first 15 minutes, first half an hour, first hour even. I think it will be nip and tuck. So do you bring Olsen on late on when the game is that wee bit more stretched? Because he's a moments player, and we will need big moments on Sunday.
Well, indeed. A comment from John there asking what time the game is. It's 12 o'clock on Sunday and then 1 o'clock the week after. So a slight difference there with the cup, tele deals and whatnot. We touched on a few players there as well. Bayrami, Asgard, Gassama. Guys that I don't think any of us expect to start, but it's going to be a strong bench. Either way, we saw at the weekend, the bench is very important. Who do you turn to first there? Because look at what Gassama done against Hearts. Massive impact. Got the kind of clinching goal, brilliant run, brilliant assist. You look at Gassama against Livingston, hopeless, man down most of the game. Is he still your first pick? I know it depends how the game's going. If you need a goal, it's going to differ. But would you look at Bayrami before Gassama? Would you look at Asgard in any sense? Or is there someone, again, Majovski's in there as well as an attacking option. But who do you think Daniel goes to? If I start with, if things are going badly, who do you turn to for that list?
Gassama for me in terms of off the bench, red hot atmosphere. I think that's where he will see the best of him. On the left wing, I might add as well. Useless on the right wing. You could see on Sunday he really struggled. You know, like nothing was coming off with him. He couldn't make a 5-yard pass. The fans weren't booing, but they were groaning just out of sheer frustration because I think we could see the points slipping away on Sunday, and he kind of got the brunt of it at times. It felt in the stadium because he wasn't on it. He was very similar to, there was him, Chukwani, who kind of were looking round at times as if to go, what is going on here? You know, like as in, I don't think they could quite grasp the pitch, the stadium, the atmosphere, the just general mood and the demand from the fans. They just really didn't look comfortable at all. So yeah, Gassama for me would be the impact that he had on against Hearts, the impact he had against Panathinaikos. I'm saying nervously at home. Did he come on in Panathinaikos and score the worldie, or was that
He scored a lot in that period of time, so probably, but my mind's not good enough.
Yeah. Anyway, and then he scored a late goal, definitely against Pilsen when Antman found him at the back post. Yes. So yeah, I appreciate you started that day, but I think in terms of what we need, him coming on late on, running at them, I think will be will. I wouldn't like him coming on against us with 20 minutes to go if they had a similar player of a similar skill set and a similar threat. But again, it's another chance for another player to arrive and give us a big moment. And I'm glad he's in the ranks. However, yeah, for me, like a few people have said in the comments, there's no way he's a starter. One, he hasn't done enough. And two, I don't know where he fits in terms of, especially if we do go with the 4-2-2-2.
Yep. And one thing I forgot to put in the agenda, but I'll just spring on you here, is who do you think could be a match winner? Like we saw what Trimity done at Parkhead, almost wrote himself into like cult hero status with one second half performance. I was thinking back a few games from like proper years ago. If you think of like Jamie Ness's Wonder Strike, you think of Maurice Oudou's winner, Bert Conterman. There's been so many players who maybe didn't have great Rangers careers, but they had a little moment against Celtic. It can make all the difference. Do you see anyone stepping up? Have you got like a vision in your mind of who could be that hero? Just a random guy that might pop up on Sunday?
Romans. There you go. I think, I've like everybody. I really like him. The way that he carries himself and the way that he runs, he is just the new Arthur Newman. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if Arthur Newman was a Dutch internationalist, captain in Holland at World Cups and that. But
Still though, we've came down a
yeah,
touch since those days, so yeah, I get it.
yeah, 20 years on or whatever. No, me and my dad were talking today about him, and we were almost kind of saying this could be this game could be really suited for him. I've got a feeling the Celtic right back is there to be targeted. I can't think of his name, the lad from Bournemouth on loan.
I think he's injured. Araujo's out.
Is he or is he? I think he was
It
just
might be one of those.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he was just rested for tonight. But I think in terms of their right back position, I think is an area that needs to be targeted. If you look at the goals that they've been conceding recently, teams are targeting that side. By all accounts, he offers quite a bit going forward. I haven't seen enough of him, but I think in terms of us getting at them, then that's going to be a potential position that we will target. And we've seen already in the early space that Romans does offer quite a hell of a lot going forward, and he is switched on at the back as well. So yeah, there's me outside bet. I might put a little. I'm sure we'll get him around 33-1 first goal or something. So it might be a bit ambitious, but yeah, I definitely think he's one for us. He's one I think will could be a little bit outside the box. But as you say, some of the names you mentioned earlier, whether it be Philip Hollander, somebody told me you're going to get a Philip Hollander 1-0 win. Jamie Nesk, even going further back. Barry Mackay, and you go back previous years.
Yeah.
Eric Bow Anderson. Do you know what I mean? As you go back through all of these old firm memories over the years, there's players have popped up and big performances have popped up. I always remember Andy Little made his debut at right back under Walter, even though he was always a forward-minded player. I think he was a real young lad. So we've always said over the years when we've been travelling up the road, I wonder who'll be the old firm surprise today. It was one under Walter that was always. I remember Alec Cleland getting thrown in for an old firm game when he wasn't expected to start and went on to score a winner. I can see somebody's put in the comments. Kevin Thompson 1-0 win.
That's a good one.
Remember that one? Nutmeg in would it have been Boric at the time? So yeah, I think there's any of them. I'm not bothered, but yeah, I'll take it. I'll take Magoma coming off the bench to score a screamer. I'll take Asgard scoring, but I don't see that one particularly happening. I think he's starting to slip into Kieran Dowell territory for me, Asgard. But anyway, let's keep it positive.
Try and keep positive. Yeah. So well. Ronald actually stole mine. I think Nadiri's the one. I think he's built for this.
I'd love it.
I don't know if he starts. I know he's had injury issues, but he's such a handful. You saw what it was like against Hearts. Just a bit chaotic. He's been obviously a wee bit in and out with the injuries and finding form and stuff, but I think we've paid the money for this kind of guy to come and steal the show kind of thing, whether it's a scrappy goal, whether it's just getting in there. We know the issues that Celtic have. You mentioned their right back, but their centre-backs for me, I watched that game against Stuttgart. They played all right, but I think you're right. It's a Stuttgart side that are barely in second gear, let alone third gear kind of thing. So I think if you put a Chermiti and a Nadiri beside each other, they can cause some serious havoc up there. We'll leave it there.
I assume your question is who's going to score after Chermiti scored two. Is that where you go with this? Yeah, that's standard.
That one. Yeah.
And I know we did a quiz the other day. If anyone hasn't got a chance to watch it, I'd recommend going back. It's a good laugh. But I am going to give the answer to one of the questions away. Is how many different teams has Chermiti scored against in his professional career? So yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to guess in the comments, but it was definitely something that I wasn't expecting. Even though I think I might have guessed it right actually. But yeah, I think he's only scored against 6 different clubs in his career. So I think we could name them. Was it Hearts? It was Hearts,
Celtic, the game for Everton in the Cup against
Mansfield, Kilmarnock, Porto, for Porto and Rio Ave or something.
Yeah.
So
he's a big game player. That's what he does.
He's a big game player. So yeah, let's hope he's he keeps that 6-team running on Sunday.
As you say, as long as one of them scores a winner, who cares? We've got a lot more coming next few days. We've got Tommy going along to the press conference tomorrow, so check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, TikTok, etc., for all those different comments. Hopefully some team news. Hopefully we hear Stelling's back. I'm sure that will give everyone a lift. But no, thank you everyone for joining us. Any likes are always going to be appreciated. If you can make sure you're subscribing as well for all the stuff that we're going to be bringing out. Hopefully get another show in before the weekend. But if not, JB, I'm just going to come to you for a very last minute score prediction.
1-0, Tavernier.
My heart rate will go mental. No, I'm going 3-0. I have absolute blind faith. I'm ignoring the Livy game happened, just totally blowing it out. 3-0 Rangers win. Do the same the week after, and we'll all be in cloud 9. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you all next time, and good luck to the Rangers on Sunday. Cheers, guys.